What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Noah Gray here, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Josh's channel and check out showmefootball.com for more.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fann of showmefootball.com, covering your Kansas City Chiefs. He's Michael D'Arcy of KC Sports Report, and Ben Rothlisberger just had a hot take about Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes. We're going to discuss it right after this. Ladies and gentlemen of the Chiefs Kingdom, welcome back into another video on my channel. Today I am joined by my good friend Michael D'Arcy of KC Sports Report, and we are going to talk about some hot takes from over the offseason. And this time, former Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Ben Rothlisberger went on a podcast and talked about Patrick Mahomes versus Aaron Rodgers. This graphic is, of course, from Starcade Media on Twitter, and Ben Rothlisberger said, I would take Aaron, talking about Aaron Rodgers in his prime, over Patrick now. Patrick Mahomes is just now entering out of his prime, I think. He'll go down as another arguable GOAT. I think Aaron in his prime is better. So, Michael, this take certainly had people up in arms. And also, Ben Roethlisberger is not the only person over the past couple of weeks to kind of make some comment about Mahomes like being on the downward trend in his career. And that's really another conversation we could have. We'll probably say that for another day, maybe sometime this week or next week. But focusing on this quote from Ben Roethlisberger, Michael, are you shocked that he said that? I mean, what gives there? Because, I mean, obviously these are two great quarterbacks, but Mahomes' resume already like blows Aaron Rodgers out of the water, and Mahomes' career is only about halfway through.
I wonder if Roethlisberger was talking about like talent, but even then I don't think he's right. Listen, I think there might be also a little bit of saltiness from Roethlisberger. If you don't remember, Patrick Mahomes ended his football career back in 2021 in the playoffs at Arrowhead Stadium when the Chiefs absolutely embarrassed the Pittsburgh Steelers. That was the final game that Ben Roethlisberger ever played in the NFL. And so maybe he's a little bit salty that Patrick Mahomes is the one that ended his career. But I think if you just like think about it objectively, the resumes aren't even close. Like statistically speaking, Patrick Mahomes has had a better start to his career, more championships. Like, I mean, what are we talking about? Like, I don't even understand how this is even an argument or even a debate.
Yeah, I just don't understand it because, like, I mean, maybe he was taking the angle of like, we've heard the Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers debate that people have. And even though there's not really a debate when it comes to the accolades, there are a lot of people that think Aaron Rodgers is more talented than Tom Brady, and he displayed that more often. And Aaron Rodgers definitely had some awesome moments right throughout his career. I mean, that Arizona Cardinals playoff game, despite the loss, heroic effort. There was the Hail Mary to win against Detroit. I mean, he has been a great quarterback, no doubt a Hall of Famer. And people tend to forget about how good he was just because the last few years of his career has not really gone over that well. But
he's also become incredibly hateable as a person.
Right.
And I think that's really hurt his legacy.
For sure. Even though people might find that to be stupid, I mean, that's just kind of how it is. But Michael, I think I agree with you that there's a little bit of saltiness here from Ben Roethlisberger because I think, these guys that play in the same era kind of all have a mutual respect for each other. And Mahomes was not in Roethlisberger's era. Roethlisberger was in the same era as the Aaron Rodgers and the Tom Bradys and the Peyton Mannings. And so I think, there's a little bit of an ego when these younger up-and-coming guys come into the league and kind of show them up. Because Mahomes certainly did that to Ben Roethlisberger, because not only did he end his career, Michael, but there was also that first season when Mahomes was the starter. I think it was like week 2 or 3 against the Steelers, and Mahomes just came in and won in a shootout against Ben Roethlisberger. And, I mean, if you remember that game, it was like, wow, like that's kind of when we knew, like, Mahomes is special. And he outdueled Ben Roethlisberger in his own house. So I definitely think there's a little bit of saltiness here from Ben Roethlisberger. And I definitely think there's something to the idea that, like, because it's a difference in eras, Ben Roethlisberger doesn't really respect Mahomes the same way he would someone else from his era of football.
Well, I'll tell you what, how many times did Ben Roethlisberger get in trouble with his mouth on radio stations? Or he had that thing. Yeah, I was going to say, Ben Roethlisberger has his own off the field issues to go alongside, the comments. But yeah, it's very interesting to see. Again, it's almost like this quote came at the perfect time. And it's probably catching so much traction because it is July 2nd, July 3rd by the time you guys are seeing this video. So it's like, it makes sense why we're kind of talking about it now, because there is nothing going on in the NFL. This is the dead point in the offseason, but it's just like, I don't understand how you can make the case that Aaron Rodgers is better than Patrick Mahomes. I just don't see it.
Yeah, not even from a talent standpoint or an accolade standpoint. And we've seen Mahomes throw for 50 touchdowns, 5,000 yards. If I'm not mistaken, Aaron Rodgers has never done that. Mahomes was only one of 3 quarterbacks, I believe, to ever do that. So, I mean, that is something that Aaron Rodgers obviously, again, has not done. And just the playoff success, man. And I think also you can pretty much make the argument at this point that Mahomes has dragged less talented teams to Super Bowls, which is something that Aaron Rodgers hasn't necessarily ever shown that he was able to do with Green Bay.
Patrick Mahomes has more Super Bowl wins than Aaron Rodgers has, or I guess Patrick Mahomes has more playoff wins than I think Aaron Rodgers does by 3 or 4 times. Or maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, I'm definitely wrong. But he definitely has
I think
double.
Mahomes has more Super Bowl wins than Aaron Rodgers even has NFC Championship game wins.
Oh yeah, he's only been to the Super Bowl once.
Yeah, I mean it just feels like he left a lot on the table for his career. I think if Mahomes' career ended today, I mean, would it suck that he didn't play longer? Yeah, but would anyone be disappointed by his career? I mean, he'd be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I guess Aaron Rodgers probably is too, but it's just again, we were saying, Michael, it's just not even debatable that Mahomes has the better resume. He's the better player. And I just don't really understand what Ben Roethlisberger was getting at here. And I just think, he's basing his take off a couple games or a couple years that Aaron Rodgers had.
Well, and Aaron Rodgers did have a stretch in the 2020s where he was really, he won back-to-back MVPs just a couple years.
Yeah, you could argue he's better in the latter half of his career than he was in his prime that Ben Roethlisberger was talking about.
But at the same time, I really do think that the more that Aaron Rodgers has continued playing, the more people have hated on him because he brings that on himself. He is not a team first guy. He's a me first guy. And I think that, all of the issues that he had in Green Bay that we thought were Mike McCarthy's fault, it was Aaron Rodgers' fault. And it just kind of got thrown at Mike McCarthy. And it's just I don't know. I think he's a joke, but.
Yeah. And I think, he's definitely one of those guys that has overstayed his welcome in the league. And the longer you play and look like this, I think the more it does hurt the way people think about you whenever it's all said and done. And Aaron Rodgers probably should have exited a few years ago.
He probably should have retired after his Achilles, realistically.
Yeah. But anyways, guys, that's all we got for this video. Definitely wanted to talk about that because I know that there's been a lot of controversy over the past couple of weeks with people saying Mahomes is washed and this and that. Sure, it's not the last time we hear it, but we all know that's a silly take. But anyway, guys, for those of you watching, please like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. Make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com. And, I was about to say something else, but no, we won't go there. But before we sign off, Michael, where can the people find you?
You guys can find me on YouTube at KC Sports Report, and that's about it.
And all that will be down in the description below, as always. That's all we got for this video, guys. We'll see you all in the next one. And as always, go Chiefs.